everybody, and welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, or welcome if it is your first time here. Today, we are talking about hospitality, and in an industry where floor plans and features and pricing is all remarkably similar between all of the different builders in the country, we know as marketers especially that the real differentiator is not our product, it's the experience that we're creating for our buyers. So today, I am sitting down with a guest to talk about event strategy, the experience that we are building for our buyers, and what we can learn in home building from the hospitality industry, from the luxury event industry, from hotels and customer experience leaders that are doing this amazing in other industries as well as in home building. So I'm really excited to unpack how this can look for builders out there that are listening, and really any business. I think in any business, we are trying to build an experience for our buyers. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, from sensory experiences to personalized communication, CRM strategies. We've got it all in this episode. So I'm really excited for you to hear it. And if that sounds interesting to you, please stick around because we are going to be diving right into it. So let's go. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the marketing and mindset show for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, and around here we go beyond pretty pictures and we get honest about what's working, what's not, and what it really takes to build better brands, better experiences, and better teams. You'll find creative ideas, practical strategies, and conversations that actually matter. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. All right, everybody, here we are. And as you probably see on your screen, my guest today is Ashlee Nelson. She is the founder of Curated by Ashlee. And I am so excited to have you here, Ashlee. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation.
Yeah, we're going to have a really fun conversation, I think. Like I said in my intro that everybody heard before we got on, we're talking about how we can pull hospitality into the home building industry and what does that actually mean. I know that event planning and everything can go across so many different industries, and there's tidbits of things that we can learn from all of those experiences. So I'm really excited to hear all of your expertise today.
Me too. Let's go.
Awesome. I have my little opening question. I always like to get a little bit of a background from all of my guests. You have worked with a few different companies and you've planned probably hundreds of events, maybe thousands at this point. So tell me a little bit of your background. What led you to starting your own business?
That is such a good question. So many people I feel like say, I want to be a wedding planner when they grow up, or I want to be an event planner. That was not my story. I actually was a counselor. I was a clinical psychologist for 5 years before I even dove into this. And then I really got my start in customer success and client success. And let me just tell you, I'm a client success junkie. And then through a crazy story, I was actually working for an old consulting company and they worked with an outside event planner and she totally dropped the ball. And I somehow realized it before the mistake happened. And after that experience, my boss at the time was like, oh, why don't you just plan all of our events? And so I just fell into the industry, but I love it. I'm so obsessed with it. I'm so obsessed with planning experiences that are guest centric and honestly pretty profitable too. Can't go wrong with either of those.
Yeah, absolutely. You're definitely good at what you do. I've gotten to see you work and you definitely do have a passion for it. So I love that. And I always support business owners and small business owners. So I'm so excited for you.
Thank you so much.
When you were going through that process and those experiences, what kind of made you realize that hospitality is not just for hotels and restaurants? Because I think that's something that a lot of people think.
It's so true. And I don't think there was a specific light bulb moment, but I remember very vividly reading, gosh, this is an old book, but it's called The Experience Economy. I literally think it's a book that is 20 something years old. And it just pretty much challenges this idea that hospitality belongs to only restaurants and hotels. It's pretty much about how we as an economy and we as really a group of people have evolved, and purchasers have evolved from wanting the product to wanting the experience that product gives us, both before and after purchasing. And so that book was such an aha moment for me because I think it transcends. Think of some of your favorite brands. I love Trader Joe's, and every time I go to a Trader Joe's, I don't care if I'm in California or New York, the experience is the same. The products are the same. Same with Costco. I can think of all of these brands. I used to feel this way about Southwest Airlines, but no more. I can think of all these brands that just provide this experience, and I go back to those because they're experience based. So I think that really was what gave me the idea. And then, of course, the book Unreasonable Hospitality just absolutely just tugged on all my heartstrings and just put into words what I had been thinking all along about how you could be a school teacher, you can be a doctor. There are ways you can infuse hospitality into every aspect of what you do.
I love that book, Unreasonable Hospitality. I read that.
Oh
My
my gosh.
favorite part is when he talks about the little spoons that he got for one of his events. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's those little details that make such a big difference. And I love that. I just like
It's so true.
I get so giddy when I'm like, oh, this cool little tiny element and it means so much. So yeah, it's a great book.
It's so true. I don't know if you've ever actually have had the opportunity to visit that restaurant. My husband and I are
Mhm.
foodies. We have literally planned vacations around visiting restaurants. And we went to that restaurant before I even heard of the book, before I even heard of Will. This was maybe 11 years ago. And everything in that book is 100% true. They knew it was our anniversary. We had a little menu card with our names on it. They gave us a plate. I really wish I still had that plate. I have to find it. That has our wedding date. They just went, and we were like 23. We were like really young. They did not have to pour all that experience on us. We had barely any money, but they did. And it was just such a cool experience.
Oh, that's so cool. I want to go. I have not been, but that sounds so cool.
I think it's totally vegan now. But I'm sure it's still amazing, but the food, it's 100% vegan. I think it's under new ownership, but probably still amazing, honestly.
That's awesome. A lot of my listeners here are in home building, obviously. So let's talk about the home buying process. And where do you
Mhm.
feel like the biggest gaps are that home builders aren't either addressing or they just don't even see?
So I think the luxury, and I'll even just say the hospitality industry as a whole, has really mastered something that the home building industry, I think, is still learning. The hospitality industry isn't necessarily designing a plate of food or a hotel stay. All their designs are based on emotion. So I think every decision they make is asking, how does someone feel in this moment? Whereas maybe the home buying process is, okay, what process do we need to complete at this moment in time? And I think it's a really important distinction because buying a home is the most expensive purchase of someone's entire life. And it's a big deal emotionally. You could have people who are maybe moving because their daughter is going off to college. You could have people who are moving closer to their sick parents. There's so much emotion wrapped into it. And I think the home building process, it's like, here's the process of getting a buyer, moving through these steps in order to purchase a home. But I think there's just so much emotion that's layered underneath that I feel like it's really easy to miss.
Yes, I've done the exercise where you actually take each stage of the home buying process and you map out what is the buyer feeling at this time in emotions. And I think it's an exercise that I think every single builder should do because it really does open your eyes and you can see how it really roller coasters. There's really highs and really lows throughout this whole process. And
Mhm.
having a visual of that is really cool. Uh,
Mhm. Oh my gosh, I love that. And I can even think to some of the most famous hospitality brands who they all do similar things that I think the home building community could really glean from. And one of those brands is the Ritz-Carlton, and they're all about empowerment. I think it's something crazy where they empower every single one of their employees from bellmans to folks at the front desk to make decisions that can solve a customer problem without having to climb a ladder and get approval. Let me talk to warranty. They just empower folks. Imagine, because this happened to me. This process is very vivid because my husband and I just bought a home and I remember we wanted to switch out our carpet and it was like late. It was past the deadline to switch out the color of our carpet. And it was like this 3 week ordeal where I was just like, oh my gosh, we eventually did get the carpet we wanted. But imagine if our agent at the very beginning was just like, oh yeah, absolutely. You can switch out your carpet. No problem. It was such a headache. And I just think if she were empowered to make those decisions, which not her fault. I'm sure she had to go through all these hoops to make it happen, but it's just that empowerment I think that's so needed, especially in the home building process.
Yes. Yeah. People that need autonomy and they need to feel like they can make a difference. And that then also empowers them to do that again and to make the process better and better because the more they can see their success in that, the better that will be. I
Mhm.
love that idea. I also think so. I was doing a webinar the other day and I was talking about this kind of same thing about emotions that your buyers are feeling and ways that you can communicate and storytell to bring down those heightened emotions. But I was doing some research around that, and it was talking about how in high stakes situations and decision making, people's general response to that is not to be like excited and let's go. They actually pull back and they second guess and they move slower. And so this process of building that experience is going to help them not slow down, to help them with those decision making processes, which I think is fascinating.
I think anytime you have a chance to eliminate friction for your buyer, it can go such a long way, eliminating frustration, eliminating questions. I just think Disney is a great example of this. I think they literally put a trash can every 8 feet because they know that, oh my gosh, if there's a trash can 9 feet away, someone's going to throw something on the floor. That's a really small thing, but it's all about eliminating friction. And I just think it's an easy thing to do, but you really have to sit back and think about, okay, how can I translate this to the buyer?
Yes. They not only put a trash can everywhere, they also make them cute. So it's like you go take the one, like this is a necessity, and you can make it look cute and make it a part of the experience as something fun. So I love that. Obviously, we were
Mhm.
talking about Disney today. Disney and Trader Joe's, it was like we have to
Obviously.
bring them up.
It was bound to happen. They're both amazing.
Yes.
Honestly, anytime you could do a backstage tour at Disney worth every single penny, I was like jaw on the floor the whole time.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. One of the things that I think is a question that I've heard a lot is, or what is the difference between good service and hospitality?
I like that question a lot. So I think at the very basics, good service is just doing what's expected. Someone hires me to plan an event, and okay, I plan their event. There's really nothing else. It's just a transaction from you give me money and I do this thing for you. And I think hospitality is so much deeper. There's so many layers, but first of all, I think it's about helping people feel like they matter. I think hospitality is about relationships. It's a difference between saying, okay, Sarah, here's your keys. Your lot's over there, 127A. And here, Sarah, here's your keys. Welcome home. We're so excited to have you as a neighbor. Here's your gift basket. It's all about that relationship. And I think builders spend millions building these gorgeous houses, but I don't necessarily think a lot of them spend all that money to improve how that whole experience feels. So I think obsessing over countertops and incentives are all fine and dandy from a service perspective, but to me, as someone who just bought a home, I think I was obsessing over uncertainty, frustration, emotions. And I think I did get the home. They did accomplish the service, but hospitality to me is so much deeper. It's so relationally driven. It anticipates problems before they happen. I can't even tell you how many times because I used to mystery shop. I'm not just saying this. I love the home building industry. I came from this industry, and I can't even tell you how many times I used to mystery shop. And the sales manager would be just sitting at their desk eating their lunch. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Am I interrupting something? Imagine the difference if they anticipated me at the door with a water bottle. Hey, come on in. We know it's hot outside. Here's your water. We can't wait to show you our homes. It's that difference of an experience. And it's just really funny when you can mystery shop and you're like, ugh, this is not how it's supposed to be.
I always think about hospitality too as it's like your generator for good reviews and for them
Mhm,
people to talk about you later. Because when you just do a good
mhm.
service, you're like, yes, they built my house. That's the end. But when you're like, oh yeah, they built my house and they gave me this amazing gift at walkthrough and my salesperson was so awesome. She was always checking in with me. Now there's this whole story that goes along with them talking about you. And that's so good from a brand perspective.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. And I think every buyer is just asking the question, am I in good hands? Really for anything. If you're going to the doctor, you want to know, am I in good hands? If you're sending your kid to a new school, are they in good hands? I think if you can just answer that question for your customers before they're having to wonder and get awkward, I just think it's so big. It's the biggest question you could ever answer for them.
Definitely. I love that. Okay, so I want to shift topics a tiny bit. So we've talked about this before, and
Mhm.
you had talked to me about creating experiences that are shaped by all five senses, and I was
Yes.
obsessed with this. So I would love if you could talk about this and how that might apply to home building.
You got it. So, and I can think of a lot. I've stayed in many hotels, obviously by nature of my job, but I'm sure a
Mhm.
lot of folks listening can think to times when they stayed in hotels and they're like, what is that smell that's being piped in? It's so amazing. Or what I'm looking over here and I'm seeing this gorgeous bar. The hospitality industry is really good about infusing these five senses because people buy from that. They buy from their senses. They make decisions according to their senses. So I think in the home buying process, it's actually, this is one of the best examples ever because it is really easy to do in this industry. It's not necessarily about the candles you have, it's all about neuroscience. You want people to, and this is my psychology background talking, but you want people to have those memories when they smell cookies or when they see this thing. You want them to remember you and remember your product. And so this could be as something as one of my favorite hotels in Charleston actually does this, the French Quarter. When you check in, they give you a little scent sachet and it smells amazing. It's their signature scent and it's sprayed all throughout the hotel. And you could do this in your model. You could have cookies baking. You could have amazing smelling design center. Maybe every closing office has a signature scent. Hotels do this, retailers do this. I keep going into Hollister, like way back in middle school, you were just blown away with the senses, but I can't even tell you how many times I purchased those scents. And I think sight is really important too. I've been to construction sites that are absolute chaos, but what can be beautiful? Maybe it's the welcome signage. Maybe you can have a really beautifully organized design center. Maybe you have a clean job site. Maybe you can have branded moving gifts. I even love when I get a hard hat, like when I'm visiting a hotel and it's still in the process. I love when I get a little branded hard hat that has my name on it or my logo or the company's logo. I just think that's so fun. And then I get to keep it. What am I going to do with it? Who knows? But I just think it's a really cute thing you can do. And then touch, have samples, let them feel the cabinet doors, let them feel the stone in the flooring. One of my favorite hotels is Hotel One, and they just have the most beautiful. Whenever you walk into their lobbies, they all have this gorgeous these carpets. Their registration desk is gorgeous. They have this really pretty like green marble. It's amazing. So I think there's so many ways you can infuse these senses to make that experience a lot more memorable. Even closing day champagne or cookies, cold water, just you want to put people in that element of how am I experiencing all of this with my senses? They will be more inclined to purchase. There are so many studies about this. When you infuse senses into if you infuse all five senses into an experience, I think it's even in the book, The Experience Economy, people are more inclined to purchase.
I love this because it goes back to that. These are tiny details, which I love, but specifically smell. I have a very sensitive nose. Anybody that knows me knows this because I can smell things before other people. And it's just, I actually hate it because I will smell things. I smell people. And it's something that I feel like it's like a ghost. I can smell like things that people can't. And so it's always a conversation. And I get really bothered by bad smells where other people can just not think about it. And so if I were to go into a place that has one of those signature smells and it's really good, like I'm 100% going to remember it. I'm going to want to buy it. I'm going to want that in my future house. So as in marketing, I think about that and I'm like, how amazing would that be? Now we give all of our buyers a candle with that scent and they are now thinking about the experience and us much longer after they've moved into their home than they might otherwise. So from a brand perspective, I think this is super important and it can be super valuable.
I agree. And it's easy to do. It's not that hard. You just have to take a step back and just look at all the ways you can infuse these things. I mean, I would love to go into a model and be offered a freshly baked cookie. Sign me up for that. I will be there.
Oh, yeah. And you could do even in your area where your communities are, partner with a bakery or a small, and they would probably even be willing to co-brand it with you. And this could be your signature cookie. It not only are you building experience for your buyers, which is obviously very important, you're getting into your community, your brand is getting out there. And it's just such a great way that I feel like a lot of builders were so busy on to the next thing. And we've got a million pricing changes to make. And we've got all these things that this kind of gets overlooked. And it's a shame because this is also such a fun way for us to be creative in marketing.
I totally agree.
So now one thing that I have heard, and this is mostly from salespeople, I think, but we want to be helpful and we want to create this experience, but we don't want to be like annoying to our buyers. If we reach out too much, it's going to be annoying or whatever. So how do you get around that? Or what's your thought process on that objection to adding these touch points?
I honestly think, and I've heard this before too, because I'm technically in sales. I'm selling my
Mhm.
services as an event planner. But I honestly think if we just take a step back and go to that relational aspect, no one's gonna get annoyed with you if you genuinely are trying to be their friend. You don't want to be, you don't want to always ask him, hey, I know you came in on Wednesday, it's not Thursday. Did you make a decision? Just checking in. And then,
Mm.
okay, hey, so I didn't hear from you. I think the way we ask questions is can be very selfish. Just I want to get this sale across the finish line before the third. And instead, it's hey, what's good for Mary? I remember she said that it was my her son's birthday this weekend. So check in on Monday. Hey Mary, how did your son's birthday go? I'm here for you if you have any questions. I think it's really important to be I think so many people are afraid of asking for the sale. There is a time and a place and it is really important to do that, but not before you establish a relationship and just being likable. I think there's so much to be said for just being a likable, fun person and just being someone who genuinely cares about their customer. I just think if you're approaching it from the standpoint of I want to sell this home,
Mhm.
you're going to come across as pushy and sleazy and all those things that we've seen in the movies from the car salesman, which my dad is a car salesman and he is the very best one in the industry. He has so many relationships. People constantly come back to him because he makes the process fun and he makes it about the buyer, not about let me just sell you this car.
I think it's something I've definitely struggled with this because even with checkups, check-ins and things like I've sent a proof off to a client and I'm like, okay, I didn't hear back. I need to check in. I always feel annoying too. So I
Mhm.
get it. I think it's a very natural thing, but I think as like you said, if you put a little bit of extra effort into infusing some personality, showing that this is that you care and that's why you're following up and not just this came up on my task list and I haven't heard back from you. What's going on? There's the tone
Exactly.
and how you do it can really shift.
Exactly. You can even call it out, hey, not to be annoying. I mean, there's just so many ways that you can just be friends with your buyer and have their best interests at heart.
And all that goes into the experience that they eventually will talk about. So it is definitely important. Okay, so let's talk about buyer anxiety. And
Hmm.
so what always comes up to me in this topic, and like when we work together, you do a really great job about this, but people get nervous before things happen. And as
Yes.
someone with anxiety, I experience this often. And when we
Yeah,
were
girl, same.
planning an event, but together, you and I, you did something really cool that I loved, and it was like your know before you go. So I'd love if you can talk through that concept for our listeners today.
So I think it's really important. Like I said, I feel like purchasing a home is one of the biggest, most emotional decisions someone can make. And there are so many steps in the process. It's not just like you're going to go get your haircut, then your haircuts, and you're going to go drive home. There's just so many decisions in this whole entire process, especially when it comes to new home building. So I really think, essentially, when I plan events, I create a know before you go guide for all of my clients, and this includes what time is the event? What food are we serving? Are there going to be allergens that we're going to accommodate for? What time does it end? What do I have to wear? What all these things that people are going to be asking. I want all of that anxiety eased before they even walk into the front door. And I think it's something that could be so amazing if it's applied to the home buying process because the main goal of the Know Before You Go guide is let's ease every single anxiety you could possibly imagine in this whole entire process. And let's give you something tangible. That way you can say, oh, yeah, Sarah told me it was going to take 2 weeks. Let me just, oh, yeah, so we're on that 2 week timeline. So it's all about just creating something tangible, something physical that says, hey, this is your guide to purchasing a home. This is what's going to happen. You're going to go into a model, you're going to pick out your lot, you're going to have to wait about 4 weeks, then you're going to get assigned to someone from warranty. They're going to talk to you, and then you're going to go visit our design center. And then after you select all of your purchases, you're going to have 6 weeks, and then you can reselect them. It's just, you're answering every sort of question that they could possibly have in a way that is really tangible. You can make it beautiful. And I know before you go guides are always really cool, really pretty. And I just feel like that would alleviate so much anxiety because a lot of people, they've never bought a home before. A lot of them are first time home buyers. They don't know what to expect. They don't know that it's going to take 6 weeks in order to get a lot assigned. They don't know that it's going to take another 18 months after that in order for the foundation to go down. They don't know that. And I think instead of having them call you, oh my gosh, I'm anxious, you don't want them experiencing those emotions in isolation. You want to check in. Hey, we're right around this part. Here's this timeline. I just think that could go so far into eliminating any sort of anxieties that someone is going to have purchasing a home.
Yeah. Yes, I love this. And I feel like with my new home journey that I'm on currently, paying special attention to these moments because I think it's a really cool opportunity for me to take a step back because the people that are in home building, we're so close to it. We know this so well. that we forget that that's this buyer's first time doing this. And
Exactly.
one of the things that I'm just now, like this week, I've scheduled our pre-construction walkthrough. And so in my mind, I'm like, I know what that means, right?
Hmm.
But my husband doesn't. And I'm coming in with a builder that I have not worked with before. So I'm thinking about that as, okay, what's gonna happen at this meeting? What should I be expecting? And the builder did a great job. They sent over an email. It was really simple, but it was just an email. It was like, okay, make sure you wear closed-toed shoes and show up at this
Hmm.
time. And this is who you're meeting with. And it definitely took that. I can see my husband's anxiety, especially lower when we get that, because he's, oh, okay, no, I know what to expect. I know what I'm walking into. And
Hmm.
pretty sure that was an automated email. Like it doesn't actually take a ton of work for them. They set that up once and it's amazing. And so that's something I think this builder that I'm working with is doing really well that I think a lot of builders could implement pretty simply.
I love that. A lot of my clients who are in the corporate sector, even like the product launches that I help folks with, they always ask me, they're like, Ashley, can we automate hospitality? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We can automate it all day long, unless you have these magical unicorn employees who are going to act out every sort of step of the process that you want them to. Some of my corporate clients have hundreds, if not thousands of employees. We need to absolutely automate hospitality. Of course, there's ways that you cannot automate it and things you can do just for the extra touch, but let's go back to the Ritz-Carlton example. Every employee has read that handbook and they know I can make a decision for a customer in a way that's going to benefit them. I think every customer wants to feel like they're your only customer. And so it's how do you do that? How do you ease their anxieties? How do you make them feel like, oh wow, she's really talking to me, even though this is an automated email?
We have so much technology now, and with AI, that it does make that process of personalization a lot simpler than it used to be. And I think
Mhm.
with our CRMs and how we're able to automate workflows, I think it's totally doable to put in really cool, detailed personalizations into these outreach. And
Mhm.
all it would take was one, to make that part of your culture, and two, build it into your CRM. So when you
Yep.
select different things or you enter different information in, it's able to populate into emails. That to me is pretty simple. It does take some setup, obviously. And you
Totally.
have to have a CRM or an email system that's going to be able to handle that. But if you build that into your process, it becomes just one more step. It's not like your whole team's going to be bogged down with this new process of including personalization.
Exactly. It's so true. It's like I always say, it's just the small details. They don't even have to be anything all that huge or all that expensive. You just have to take the time to make that happen. And then once it's done, you're done. You're set up.
I think definitely check in with your CRM on this one. Use your marketing team can definitely set this up in your CRM to automate a lot of that. If you're doing it through email, obviously your in-person stuff is different story, but that I think is something, a big gap I see with a lot of builders.
It's true. And I think a lot of people, especially after reading the book Unreasonable Hospitality, you might just think great hospitality is random kindness. I would actually disagree with that. I wholeheartedly, I would say it's very, very intentionally and strategically designed. It's how I approach every single one of my events. I'm not just haphazard, let's just splash some glitter over here. It's really intentional and it's designed. I think you can provide a great experience if you just take a step back and you just really intentionally walk that customer journey and experience your brand the way that your customers experience it.
So basically, what I hear you saying is this is a process and a system and not just a random thing that I want my employees to be nicer.
Yeah, exactly. You'd want your employees to be nicer, but then yes, they need a system.
Yeah, but the strategy cannot just be, okay, everybody be nice and do extra things. You actually have to set that up for them and
Exactly.
give them a
Yep,
plan. And that's where
exactly.
technology comes into play as well.
100%.
A lot of builders right now that I talk to are trying to find ways to stand out. I think this is a never ending problem for builders because homes and the prices and the features of the homes all look simple or similar. And it's very difficult because a lot of builders are seen on even the same street as other builders, and buyers are not able to really tell the difference in a lot of situations. So, how do you think that builders could use this to stand out from their competition? This whole concept of hospitality, how could they use that in these situations where we're really looking a lot like everybody else?
So I think this is the way to stand out because just think about it. It's really easy to copy your competitor. Oh, they're using marble. We're going to use marble. Oh, they have 3 car garages. We're going to have 3 car garages. It's so easy to copy the product. But, and this is going back to what I said at the beginning, I think the home building industry is really guilty at thinking the product is the home, the physical home that someone is going to buy for $600,000. I would argue that that's maybe 50% of the product. And the other 50% is that experience leading up to it. And that is so hard to copy if you really get this ingrained and you really systematize it. So, case in point, I get hired to do a lot of executive dinners, founder dinners, mastermind dinners. And usually those people want steak. Okay, if they want steak, why am I not sending them to Outback Steakhouse? It's consistent service. You know what you're going to get. You can usually find a table. That sounds dumb. They're not paying me to send them to Outback Steakhouse. They are paying me to create that experience around the act of getting that steak. So where do I send them? If they're in Chicago, I'm sending them to Bavette's because the experience around going to Bavette's is the most insane thing ever. You walk into this moody ballroom, you are greeted by your server. They take you to the back and they open up this big, I don't know, bookshelf and they open it up and you're escorted to a private dining room. They sit you down. The menu has your logo on it. They serve you this big vat of the most amazing sourdough bread you've ever had. And then they give you your steak on a branded plate. And then with a little cone of shoestring fries. And each cone has 32 shoestring fries in it. You could even count it. And then at the end, you're escorted off and you go to the bourbon lounge. It is this amazing experience that only Bavette's does. Only Bavette's has 32 fries in their cone. Only Bavette's does this big vat of sourdough loaf on the table. And I think you have to think about that from the home buyer's perspective. What can only you do? Maybe you can partner, like you said, with the local bakery to give them a big care package of cookies. Maybe only you can train all of your sales associates to be waiting at the front door for buyers and say, hey, come on in. We're so excited you're here. Maybe only you can offer this insane care package once someone purchases a home. Maybe so I think you have to take a step back and think about what are things that only we can do that our competitors cannot. Honestly, I feel like this would have, I don't have kids, but I feel like if I was a parent and I had kids, this would be so helpful. Maybe you are in the most amazing school district in all of Austin, Texas. And maybe one of your buyer's sons wants to join basketball. And what if when they walked in, you said, hey, Sean, here's the basketball schedule. This is the email for the coach. You can just give him a call right now. We already let him know. There's just things you can do that are super crazy and unreasonable that your competitor wouldn't think about. So I think you have to take a step back and what are ways that we can have that Bavette's experience over the Outback Steakhouse? The end product is the same. It's a house. It's a piece of steak. But I think there's things that only you can do that would really elevate the process and would make you stand out above your competitors. And it could be something as simple as the school thing. You could give all of your buyers a big thing of ice cream. There's just so many things you can do that are simple, not cost effective, but very personal to your audience.
No, those are easy. Cost would not be an issue. We're not going to break the budget on something like that. You told a story about a realtor who did that exact thing. Would you mind telling
Yeah.
that story with the ice cream?
Yes. So there was a realtor in Phoenix who was really, really smart. And she used to take her. So let's say she was showing a family 4 homes in a day. She used to take them on this little home tour. And then at the end of this home tour, she would not only she would hand them a actual gallon bucket of ice cream that the like Baskin Robbins has, like a big, huge gallon. And she would do that, number one, to be memorable. And number two, it's Phoenix. She didn't want those families driving and looking at other home sites. She wanted them to go directly home and put this crazy gallon of ice cream in the freezer. And I just think that's so smart. There's things you can do to be like really weird and stand out and memorable. And there's things you can do just to be kind, but I just love that idea so much. There's a lot of event planners in the world. I am one of probably 1,000, but something I do that I don't think a lot of other event planners do is I'm really freakish when it comes to memorizing names. My clients can pay me to memorize a roster of names that has 500 people, and I will literally greet each of their guests by name. And that always comes back in the surveys. That was so cool. Someone greeted us by names. That's freakish. Who has time for that? It literally takes me 2 to 3 days to memorize these lists, but it's just something that I can do that maybe my competitors aren't doing. So I think you could just have to think through those. What are memorable things you can do? What are weird things you can do? What are things you can do that your buyer will leave saying, wow, that was such a cool experience?
That's so cool. If I'm never going to get into event planning, but if I ever did, you would definitely be me on the memorizing everyone's names. I don't think my brain even has that capacity. I don't think I could even do that.
Luckily, I also have a few people on my team who can help with that just because when you have like 1,000 names, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to take me forever. But we do it. It's always and it's really fun when you're able to do that. And honestly, we probably could make it smarter. There's probably face recognition software, but I don't know. We're just old school. Get the paper roster and memorize it.
Oh my gosh, that is pretty dedicated, I will say. If there is a builder listening today who wants to start taking the first steps on implementing some new customer experience or some hospitality into their process, where would you say they should start?
100% map your buyer journey. And I would argue map your buyer journey not from the standpoint of when someone walks into your model. I think this starts on your website. I think this starts in your Google ads. I think you have to map your buyer journey, not necessarily operational. Can someone click here and get to this link? Is that easy? That's a bare minimum. But I
Mhm.
think you have to map it out emotionally. You have to ask a question at every touch point. What is the person feeling right now? How can I ease their anxieties to get them to the next step? I think if you honestly map your buyer journey, that so many builders, I think, don't necessarily do that. I think you have to do that a lot of times. It's not something you do once every 10 years and you're like, great, sounds good, we're good. This is something you have to do, I would argue, maybe even twice a year. How do we simplify? How do we make someone more excited? How do we make this really confusing process seem really fun and engaging? I think the companies people rave about spend just as much time improving how the product feels as they do on actual physical home itself.
Definitely. I love that. All right, Ashley, if there's any of our listeners out there that would like to reach out to you or need help planning any events, what would be the best way for them to do that?
So you can find me on my website. My name is spelled with two E's, so that makes it confusing, but it's www.curatedbyashley.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. And you can actually find me at a lot of the events in the industry. I actually have partnered with a lot of companies who I used to work with, which is really fun.
Yeah, so just look for the person who knows exactly what's going on in all moments, and that's probably Ashley. You can go hit her up there.
I
Um,
love it.
well,
I try.
I will put all of those links down in the description box so you don't have to worry about spelling anyone's name. And go ahead and click those. And then while you're down there, please go to the comment box and put some questions in there. We would love to answer questions, and it gives us good ideas for our next episodes as well. I'm sure I could convince Ashley to come back if you guys have enough questions. So put them in the comment box. We can go back and forth there. It not only helps my algorithm, but I'd love to have that conversation with you. So please do that, like this episode. And if you did like it, please come back for our next episode as well. Ashley, thank you so much for being here. This was so fun. I love seeing you. I love hanging out with you. And this topic, I think, was so educational. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. It was so fun.
All right, everybody, go ahead and go start doing all those internet things. And we will see you in our next episode. Bye, everybody.